Morning friends, today I am going to demonstrate you the multi-vendor environment for the segment routing, how to configure and how to verify it on the different routers, different vendors. So as mentioned in the diagram, I am using the Cisco IOSXR, Juniper and Arista devices here. All these are virtual platforms. So underlying routing is working fine. So I am running the ISIS here. So this is the basic configuration for the ISIS running on XR1. The adjacencies with the Juniper ISIS level 2 adjacency with the Juniper is up. If we check the Juniper configuration, then ISIS is up and running fine. With the XR1 and then with the Arista device. If we check the Arista configuration, ISIS is enabled here on the loopback and then both the interface, and it's working here, the ISIS with the Juniper and XR2. If we check the XR2's configuration, so I am running the ISIS2 on the interfaces. If we check the adjacency, it's saying that adjacency is up with the Arista. So underlying infrastructure or underlying routing is working perfectly here. So let's configure the segment routing on the XR devices. Router ISIS1 address family IP for anycast. Then enable the segment routing. Interface loopback 0, prefix-sid, address family IP for anycast, prefix-sid index, it's 1 for XR1, and then enable the segment routing on the global level. So if you check the complete configuration here, router ISIS1 address family, segment routing is enabled under the global address family, then under the interface, then address family for the loopback, then we need to enable the prefix-sid index, and then at global level the segment routing. If we commit this, and then save configuration, will go to the second XR. So if you see here, router ISIS1 address family segment routing under the loopback, so we need to change this index value, as this it is 4, so I am changing the index value as a 4. So if you check the complete configuration, SID index I have configured as a 4 for XR2, and if you check the MPLS interface, it is enabled. MPLS forwarding entry will not be populated yet because we don't have the segment routing enabled on the other devices, so we should see the few entries here. If we check this segment routing label table, so we are seeing only 2 entry for the XR, that is loopback 0 of this XR1 and then loopback 0 of XR2. Let's try to enable it on the Juniper device. So I need to first enable the MPLS for these interfaces. So let me check the interfaces quickly. Set protocol MPLS interface, and then I'll copy from that, and then next one is gig 001. So I'm enabling the interface for both interfaces, and then source routing and node segment IP4 index, and then I'll define index as a 2 here. If we check the configuration, so I have enabled the MPLS interface for the all these two interfaces, and then I have enabled the node seed index for this device. I am keeping the SRGB same, means default one. I am not changing, and let's see what are the default one and how it reacts. So let's commit this configuration. So if you see the MPLS interface, yes, both are up. Show ISIS. If we check the database, and let's check the its own database, and let's see how it's advertising. Let's check the show route. So the here we can see the loopback for XR1. This is for the Juniper device. This 3 is for Arista, and this 4 is for second XR2 device. If we check the inet.3 table, so we can see that 10.1.1 entry here we have the LSP, because 10.2.2, sorry, 10.4.4.4 we don't see, because we need to still establish the segment routing on the Arista device, and these are the label under the MPLS 0. Let's configure the segment routing on the Arista device. So first router ISIS1, and then configure the segment routing MPLS, and then for the interface loopback 0, I need to configure the node segment IP4 index, and it is 3 for Arista device. And at the global level, let's enable the MPLS. So that's the configuration for the Arista. And if you check the complete configuration, show running. So here I have enabled the node segment under the loopback, and then MPLS IP, and then call that segment routing MPLS under the ISIS. copy running start. Let's save the configuration and let's check the MPLS interface. Yes, it's enabled. And if we check the for MPLS forwarding entry, show MPLS route, show MPLS label, what is it? Say show MPLS segment routing bindings. Okay, it is saying the segment routing is still disabled, so let's check the configuration. Let's try to enable it. There is no option to no shutdown. Let's try it. Okay, and let's see now. Yeah, now the segment routing is enabled on the Arista devices. We can see that this is the default SRGB starting value for the global, and adjacency it is 100K. So for this device it should advertise the index value 3. So if you see that MPLS show MPLS route, so it has populated all the entries here. Show MPLS segment routing bindings. Yes, we can see the bindings for the XR1. It's 9001. Juniper, by default it is using the 800K default sRGB, hence you can see that 800001 remote binding, and then Cisco uses 16,000. That's the reason you are seeing the 16001 for the XR devices. This is the entry for Juniper device, this is the entry for own Arista device, and this is the entry for the XR2 device. And this is the forwarding entry for the last device. So if we check for the XR1, it is saying if it's getting packet with the 16001, swap it with the 900001, which he will push it towards the Arista devices. So show segment routing label table, so we can see the entry for all these devices. And that's the very simple configuration to enable the segment routing. So if we trace route from XR1 towards the second XR2, that is 10444, we should see the label entry in the trace route. So this is the 80004 from Juniper, this is 90004 from the Arista, and it is implicit null for the last devices. And if we try to verify the database on the XR1, let's say the detail. So this is for from the XR1. Let's check the verbose, because detail will not give us the seed index values. So if we see the XR1, so for prefix 10111, we are getting the prefix-sid index 1, and these are the flags set by the routers, and you will find the adjacency-sid as well somewhere here for the interfaces. So you can see these adjacency-sid, and this is the default sRGB for the XR device, that is 16K till 23999. If we talk about the Juniper, the router ID for Juniper is 10.2.2.2, and then we should see the prefix-sid index 2 here along with the some flags, and then we should see the adjacency-sid. So if we see the sRGB for the Juniper, by default it start with 800K and range is 4096. If we talk about the Arista device, IP address is 10.3.3.3, so we should see the index 3 advertised here. So we can see the index 3 advertised here, and then sRGB value advertised by no Arista device is the 900K and range is 65536. This is the adjacency-sid for the Arista device, and this is the last XR2 device, which is 10.4.4.4, where we can see the prefix-sid index 4 along with the flags. So if we check the forwarding entries once again, so if we try to trace route to the XR2, that is last device, that is 16004, it's going to push it or swap it with the 800004 on the outbound direction. If we check the route table for INET.3 table for the on the Juniper device, so for 10.4.4 we could see that it's going to push the 900004. So 800004 it receives and it swap it with the 900004 and forwards the packet towards the Arista device. Here we don't see the label because these are implicit null labels, because XR1 and then Arista device is directly connected to the Juniper, hence you don't see the label here. But on the Arista device we are checking the show MPLS route. So packet received with the 900004 for the destination XR2, that is 10004, and then its forward is on this particular interface with the implicit null value towards the XR2, and this is for the XR1. So if we trace route from the XR2 towards the last XR1 from 10444 towards the destination 10111, we can see that 900001, which is for the Arista, 800001, which is for the Juniper, and then last is the implicit null value. That's how we can configure the segment routing for the multi-vendor. And then for the Nokia, I don't have the virtual environment, so I'll paste the configuration at the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video, which is on the ChatGPT, how to use the ChatGPT to automate your configuration.